Look, there's a tennis player going around at the moment who's, I guess what people would say about him is he's wasted his career by not being passionate enough. And I've just recently read about his story and how hard he was pushed, basically missed out on his childhood, experienced a lot of abuse at the hands of his father. Now, is that preferable? Sure, he's got money. Sure, he's got cars. Sure, he's done things that you and I will never do. But what's the point of it all? We're all going to end up in the grave. Like, what's the point if you're not happy?
I think that, and you jumped onto that sport. Like, I think tennis players are a lot of tennis players are almost like the poster child of what can happen. What can happen if kids aren't given a choice and are pushed and pushed and pushed, because it's such an individual sport that, and you find it's mostly they've been, they haven't had a coach. They've actually been coached by their parents or their father. I don't know what it is, whether it's a cost thing, that it costs a lot to get tennis coaches. I'm assuming it would. So, you have a prodigy of a child and think, well, okay, a female tennis player can be playing in the Grand Slam at 15 years old. Like, a male can be there at 18, 17. Like, that's so, I mean, they're just babies, and so that means you have to push this kid and push this person to the limits. And you're supposed to be a father or a mother or and then all of a sudden you're telling this kid to, hit 1,000 tennis balls and do 10K runs and all this sort of stuff. Like, to me, tennis, these bad boys or bad, these people that are acting out in tennis are only kids that have just kind of had a bit of a rough trot growing up, because they've had no childhood. And I think, like I said, they're the poster children of what can happen, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And I love the sport. It's my favorite sport. But, I look at all the examples out there, and if your child doesn't want it the way, you need to want it to make it to the top, I'm not sure if it's worth pushing. That's all. I think let the person just be who they are and grow into themselves, really. And look, if you're lucky enough to get someone who says, yeah, I really, really want this, that's great. Get behind them. I've got behind my son who just really, really wants to be a garbo. But the skills he's learned, for example, networking, that's one of the biggest skills anyone can learn in life.
Massive.
And he's doing that already as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
He's got phone numbers of different garbos. He's in contact with people. He emails councils, getting free bins and things like that from them, and stickers and all that sort of stuff. And he's liaised all on his own. I can't believe how much he's organised. He's like, oh, can you drive me to Hornsby Council? I've got to pick up these bins. And when Erica went there, they're like, oh, it's, your son. And they said his name. He was like, yeah. And they had a bag with his name on it, ready to go, like this little parcel for him.
Yeah.
So he organised that all on his own because of his passion.
You don't teach that in the school. Like, I know, like with my newish role that I'm in, like at work, like part of it is networking, and like I'm like over 40 going, well, how do I do this? Like, just ring someone and say hello? Like, really? Like, yeah. I'm usually ringing someone just to tell them something. And he's, no, just ring them to say hello and speak to them and see how they're going. I'm like, okay, like is that networking? It is, but if you're learning this as a kid, wow, you're going to be a step ahead. And that's, like I said, it's from passion. It's not from you going, you must network. Like,
exactly.
It's all from the passion.
Yep.
Of what he does. So, yeah.
And we help him with his social skills. We can guide him and say, oh, okay, so if someone sent you an email saying this, you can reply by saying, starting by thanking them and, closing the conversation with, another thank you or something, for example. And, he's learning those little bits of communication. And quite often that's what you need in life to get through things, just to be able to use.
We talked about communication in the written form previously. And, like, it's the way, like, I think I even read last night, I read something, I was scrolling through somewhere, and it was like it was some story. It was a story about how rare handwritten notes are now. Like postcards and handwritten letters, like how, and it's not, and someone was some story about somebody who receives a lot of things, and they're saying how nice it is to receive a handwritten letter. And I'm like, man, like, it is changed like, massively under our noses.
That would be lovely, actually. I'm going to write somebody a letter, Jared.
I think it's the caring, like people like they've taken the time to, write a letter. Like
Yeah.
I think that would be a nice thing to receive these days.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
It would be, actually. Yeah, rather than just an eggplant emoji or something.
Yeah. Please don't send me an eggplant emoji.
Thanks, Jared.
Thanks, mate.